As the morning sun began to softly illuminate the tree-lined streets of the upscale neighborhood, Jennifer Wilson was helping her son Michael get dressed. This was a familiar scene that played out every morning at her home in the suburbs of San Jose. Outside the window, neighborhood children were already lining up to wait for the school bus. "Here, Michael. Let's wear the blue t-shirt today. The weather's nice, so you can play all you want in the playground," she said. Michael responded to his mother's words with a smile, raising both arms to let her help him with the t-shirt. His golden hair sparkled in the morning sun, and his blue eyes twinkled with anticipation. From the kitchen came the sounds of Robert preparing breakfast. It was their daily routine to share the morning preparations as a couple. "Jenny, coffee's ready. What time is your meeting today?" her husband called out. As she descended the stairs in response to his voice, breakfast awaited: toast, scrambled eggs, and fresh fruit. Robert's laptop was already open on the table, and while he checked his work emails, Michael happily scooped up his cereal beside him. Robert's black hair was perfectly neat, and his carefully ironed shirt reflected his meticulous nature. "Well, it should end by 3 p.m. After that, Martha will." "Ah, that's right, Mom's picking him up." At 8 a.m., Jennifer dropped her son off at kindergarten. At the gates of Sunshine Preschool, Michael waved, saying, "Bye-bye, Mama." The gesture was so adorable that it made her heart ache. Several children were already playing in the playground, and Michael happily joined his friends. Upon arriving at the luxury real estate office, Jennifer transformed into the perfect career woman. She smoothed her brown hair, straightened her back, and confidently gave instructions to her subordinates. As a sales manager, everyone acknowledged her capabilities. Her annual salary of $80,000 was proof of her competence. "Mrs. Wilson, the documents for the hillside property are ready. Thank you for getting them done in time for the afternoon presentation." However, while responding to clients' voices on the phone, a corner of her mind was always worried about her son. Balancing work and childcare was more challenging than she had imagined. Looking at the family photo on her desk, she secretly battled feelings of guilt. That afternoon, her mother-in-law Martha was scheduled to handle the kindergarten pickup. 3 times a week, she helped with childcare. While outwardly cooperative, Martha's interference seemed to be gradually increasing lately. Using her background as a former elementary school teacher as leverage, she had started voicing opinions about education methods too. "Jennifer, you should pay more attention to Michael's meals. The lunch box from the other day didn't have enough vegetables. When I was raising my son, I was much more careful about nutritional balance." Jennifer had been maintaining her composure while dealing with such comments from her mother-in-law, though they caused slight irritation. Martha's house was nearby, and she frequently visited to check on her grandson. With her strong attachment to her son, Martha showered the same affection on her grandson Michael. Night fell. Even when the living room clock showed 9 p.m., Robert hadn't returned. Jennifer slumped on the sofa, with Michael already breathing steadily in sleep beside her. Recently, her husband had been coming home late more often. She'd been told it was because a new project had started, but something didn't feel right. Sometimes she noticed him staring at his phone and typing messages. Is Daddy not coming home today either? Every time Michael asked this before bed, Jennifer's heart ached. As she watched Michael's sleeping face, Jennifer pondered about the nature of family. On the surface, it was a perfect family life with nothing missing: a house in an upscale neighborhood, stable income, successful husband, adorable son. However, she couldn't shake the feeling that the reality was gradually, but surely, changing. The next evening, a few children were still playing in the playground at Sunshine Preschool. The August sun remained strong, with heat rising from the asphalt. Jennifer wiped the sweat from her brow as she entered the preschool entrance. Children's drawings adorned the hallway walls, and she could spot Michael's family picture among them. 4 figures holding hands and smiling under a blue sky: Jennifer, Robert, Michael, and Martha. Her son's innocent heart in including his grandmother as a family member stirred complex emotions within her. "Excuse me. I'm here to pick up Michael Wilson." When she spoke at the reception, the teacher on duty showed a puzzled expression. "Mrs. Wilson. Michael was picked up by your sister a little while ago." For a moment, time seemed to stop. Alarms rang in Jennifer's head. "I don't have a sister." As she spoke those words, she felt the blood drain from her entire body. Miss Brown, Michael's teacher, hurried out from the staff room. "Mrs. Wilson, I'm terribly sorry. About 30 minutes ago, someone claiming to be your sister came. We did check her ID, but..." Jennifer's hands began to shake. She took out her smartphone to call the police. However, various possibilities were already racing through her mind. Had Martha changed her plans? No, that couldn't be. Martha would definitely have contacted her. 911, what's your emergency? My son has been kidnapped. At Sunshine Preschool. My 3-year-old son. Her voice trembled. Miss Brown offered her a cup of water, but even her hands receiving it were shaking. Can you tell us about the suspect's characteristics? Miss Brown stepped forward and began explaining in a calm voice. It was a woman. She wore a black dress and had long brown hair. She was wearing large sunglasses. As she listened to this description, an unsettling feeling grew within Jennifer. Those characteristics seemed familiar somehow. Security cameras. We have them at the main gate and parking lot. We can check them right away. The principal led them to the room with security camera monitors. The screen clearly showed a woman in a black dress leading Michael by the hand. Michael showed no signs of resistance, rather, he seemed to be happily skipping along with the woman. That sight made Jennifer's chest tighten. Was it someone he knew? Why hadn't Michael been wary? Next, she called her husband. But Robert's cell phone wouldn't connect. As she listened to the voicemail switch over, her anxiety increased. "Robert, call me back immediately. Michael. Michael's been taken." Just after leaving the message, she heard police sirens approaching. The police officers who arrived at the scene immediately began assessing the situation and examining the evidence. As the officers carefully checked the security camera footage, Jennifer's smartphone vibrated. It was a call from Robert. "Jenny? What's wrong? Why didn't you answer the phone?" "Michael. Michael's been kidnapped. Someone pretending to be my sister took him from preschool." "Is your mother involved?" "No, Mom should be at the hospital for tests right now. I'll head over right away." After hanging up, anxiety surged again. There was something off about her husband's voice. It seemed too calm. Why wasn't he more agitated? A police officer approached. "We're tracking the car seen on the security cameras. It's a silver Toyota Camry. However, we're considering the possibility that the license plate might be fake." Jennifer called her mother-in-law Martha. "Martha. Michael. Jennifer. What's wrong? Your voice is shaking. Michael's been kidnapped. Where are you?" "I'm at the hospital." "But kidnapped, that can't be." "I'll come right away." Something felt wrong about that conversation too. Martha's voice, supposedly at the hospital, seemed to be coming from somewhere with a different atmosphere. After a while, Robert finally arrived at the preschool. By then, an investigation headquarters tent had been set up, and the intense investigation was ongoing. Robert embraced his wife and spoke to her. However, that warmth felt slightly different from usual. The next morning, San Jose was enveloped in an unusual atmosphere. Local news unanimously reported on Michael's kidnapping case, repeatedly broadcasting the image of the woman captured on security cameras. Several news vehicles had already stationed themselves around Sunshine Preschool. The female suspect was wearing a black dress, had long brown hair, and was wearing large sunglasses. She reportedly left the scene in a silver Toyota Camry. The morning news anchor's voice echoed in Jennifer's hotel room. On police advice, she had spent the night in this hotel instead of at home. After a sleepless night, dark circles were etched under her eyes. A call came in from the investigation headquarters. "Mrs. Wilson, we have new information. The suspect's vehicle was captured on a gas station security camera an hour after the incident, in the suburbs of San Jose. However, its whereabouts after that are unknown." Detective Thompson from the Criminal Investigation Division calmly related the facts. Behind him, various pieces of information were being posted on a large investigation board. Timeline, witness information, photos of related persons. And Michael's smiling photo was placed in the center. The perpetrator was clearly methodical. Usually in such cases, some kind of demand comes in. Jennifer shook her head at those words. "There's been no contact yet. No ransom demand." At 10 a.m., new information arrived at the investigation headquarters. A security camera about a kilometer from the preschool had captured the suspect's vehicle from a different angle. It also showed a woman sitting in the passenger seat. Detective Thompson's expression changed. "Mrs. Wilson, do you recognize this woman?" Jennifer caught her breath when she saw the footage. It looked familiar. However, she couldn't immediately remember who it was. Later, Suspicious numbers were found in Robert's cell phone call history. There had been frequent calls to the same number over the past month. "We'll investigate this number." A police investigator immediately turned to his computer. Meanwhile, Jennifer observed her husband's behavior. Robert was clearly unsettled, checking his cell phone repeatedly. I need to make a call outside." "I'm sorry, but please refrain from using cell phones at this time." At Detective Thompson's calm voice, Robert swallowed his words. In the afternoon, a report came in from the hospital where Martha was supposedly admitted. There is no record of Marcia Wilson being examined yesterday. Upon receiving this report, the atmosphere at the investigation headquarters changed dramatically. Robert's face turned pale. "This must be some mistake." "Mother, definitely." "Did you confirm with the hospital yourself?" "No, Mother called and..." By evening, decisive evidence was found. A receipt from the gas station where the suspect's vehicle was last seen. The credit card number recorded on it belonged to a woman named Carol Smith. Carol Smith. She's the receptionist at Robert's company. Detective Thompson looked at Robert. Her husband's expression froze. "She's currently 7 months pregnant. And she's been absent from work this past week." A heavy silence fell over the investigation headquarters. Jennifer had opened the photo folder saved on her husband's cell phone. There were photos of a smiling Carol, and Robert gently stroking her swollen belly. The security camera at Martha's home had preserved footage from the day of the incident. A woman in a black dress leaving the house with Martha. And following behind, Martha carrying a large trunk. New information continued to gather at the investigation headquarters. A mountain villa contracted under Martha's name. Suspicious money transfer records from Carol's family home. And testimonies from Robert's workplace colleagues. Ms. Smith had been feeling unwell for the past 6 months. She seemed particularly emotionally unstable. Mr. Wilson often took care of her. "I saw them together several times after overtime work." By the morning of the 3rd day of investigation, all the points were beginning to connect. A planned kidnapping. Fabricated hospital tests. And a hidden affair. The whiteboard at the investigation headquarters depicted intricately intertwined human relationships. "We found a villa in the suburbs under Carol Smith's father's name." Security camera footage shows someone who appears to be suspect Martha Wilson entering and leaving yesterday evening. There was no hesitation in Detective Thompson's voice. "Rapid response team, prepare." The Special Forces team members gathered at the investigation headquarters were attending their final strategy meeting. All were wearing bulletproof vests and equipped with night vision devices. It was already dark outside, the optimal time to approach the mountain villa. "The target building is at this location." The operation chief continued his explanation while pointing at satellite photos displayed on a large screen. "It's a 2-story building. Living room and kitchen on the 1st floor, 3 bedrooms on the 2nd floor. We've secured an entry route through the back door. Power supply is independent, and can be cut off externally if necessary." Detective Thompson stepped forward. Currently, there are at least 3 people in the building. Suspects Martha Wilson and Carol Smith, and the hostage, Michael Wilson. However, we need to consider the possible presence of suspect Robert Wilson. At those words, Jennifer's body trembled as she sat in a corner of the room. She still couldn't accept the reality of her husband being called a suspect. We've confirmed that suspect Martha Wilson's car arrived at the villa 15 minutes ago. Carol Smith's vehicle hasn't moved since yesterday. The operation chief continued. As a point of caution, suspect Carol Smith is 7 months pregnant. She's likely in an extremely tense state and may act unpredictably. Also, there are signs of surveillance cameras installed in the building, so our approach may be detected from outside. At 11:30 p.m., the operation began. The Special Forces vehicles advanced along the mountain road with their headlights off. All communications were conducted by radio with strict encryption. As they approached the villa, light could be seen leaking from the windows. The bluish glow of a television flickered in one room on the second floor. Without the radio breaking up, the team's deployment proceeded. Real-time footage was continuously sent to the investigation headquarters. The thermal imaging camera captured 4 human shapes. One was clearly child-sized. At midnight, with the operation chief's signal, actions began simultaneously. First, power to the building was cut. The next instant, multiple flashbang grenades were thrown in, and doors were broken down with a thunderous sound. The Special Forces team stormed the building. Through night vision devices, the expected scene unfolded inside. Carol standing frozen in the center of the living room. Martha trying to run up the stairs. And Michael sleeping in a second-floor bedroom. Carol raised both hands and collapsed into a sitting position. Martha stopped halfway up the stairs, wearing a vacant expression. Detective Thompson stopped Jennifer as she tried to rush into the building. Please wait a little longer. We need to confirm the building's safety. A few minutes later, all rooms had been checked and Michael's safety confirmed. Having awakened from sleep, he looked around in confusion. Mama? Where's Mama? Upon hearing that voice, Jennifer broke free from the police restraint and ran up the stairs. Upon seeing his mother, Michael burst into tears and clung to her. It's all right now, everything's all right. Mama's here. Downstairs, Carol began speaking in a trembling voice while accompanied by a police officer. We thought we could make a new family for the baby. Robert, he promised me. But the divorce talks weren't progressing. Martha also began giving her statement to another police officer. That child is my precious grandson. Jennifer has no right to raise him. She's always working. Robert arrived at the villa. Having been informed that an arrest warrant had been issued for him, he was arrested without resistance. I planned everything. Taking Michael away, starting a new life with Carol. By dawn, the full picture of the incident had become clear. The affair between Robert and Carol that began a year ago. Robert's panic when Carol's pregnancy was discovered. And Martha, who joined the plan due to her excessive attachment to her grandson. The kidnapping procedure was perfectly planned. Detective Thompson continued his explanation. Suspect Martha contacted the preschool in advance to inform them of a fictitious sister's visit. Suspect Carol used forged identification. And suspect Robert created an alibi by pretending to be at work. The villa was purchased a month ago under Carol's father's name. On the fourth morning, Michael underwent hospital examinations. Fortunately, there was no physical harm. However, the psychological counselor pointed out the need for long-term care. This could be a major trauma for a 3-year-old. Especially the fact that his trusted grandmother was involved. The next day, a press conference was held. In front of numerous reporters, the police chief explained the details of the case. The victim, Michael Wilson, has been safely rescued and is currently staying in a secure location with his mother, Jennifer Wilson. The 3 suspects have been arrested, and preparations for prosecution are underway. Further shocking facts came to light during subsequent interrogations. Martha had even planned to have Robert get custody of Michael after the divorce and raise him with Carol. "We were going to recreate a perfect family," Martha's testimony revealed the depth of her distorted maternal love. A week after the incident, preliminary hearings began. Robert and Carol were expected to be charged with kidnapping, while Martha faced conspiracy charges. Seeing the 3 of them in court, Jennifer was overwhelmed with mixed emotions. "How am I going to explain this to my son?" The child psychologist answered her question quietly. "Take it slowly, one step at a time. What's important is creating an environment where Michael feels safe and loved." 6 months after the incident, at the San Jose District Court, a heavy atmosphere hung over the courtroom as sentences were about to be pronounced. For the defendant Robert Wilson, on charges of kidnapping, false statements, and conspiracy, I hereby sentence you to 3 years in prison. The judge's voice echoed through the silent courtroom. Robert hung his head deeply, his shoulders trembling. For the defendant Carol Smith, on charges of kidnapping and false statements, I hereby sentence you to 8 years in prison. Carol, who had already given birth, would break down crying whenever shown photos of her baby through the visitation room glass. Her child was set to be put up for adoption. For the defendant Martha Wilson, on charges of conspiracy and false statements, I hereby sentence you to 3 years in prison, suspended for 5 years. A suspended sentence considering her advanced age. However, Martha's eyes had already lost their light. In the courtroom gallery, Jennifer reflected on the past 6 months. Moving to a new home and starting a new life with Michael happened right after the incident. They left the upscale neighborhood for a small apartment. However, the time spent with her son had definitely increased. "Mama, can we go to the park today?" "Yes, of course. I can leave work early today." Changing jobs also became a major turning point in her life. From luxury real estate sales to public relations at an IT company with flexible hours. Though her income decreased, her working hours improved significantly. Both mother and son continued psychological counseling. Michael was gradually recovering from the impact of the incident. "Michael's resilience is remarkable," noted Dr. Brown, their counselor. However, it will still take time to restore his basic trust in family, especially towards adult males. Still, hope was gradually sprouting. Michael, having changed preschools, was slowly adapting to his new environment. On weekends, Jennifer's parents visited from out of town, cherishing their time with their grandson. Later, the adoption of Carol's baby girl was officially finalized. The baby was taken in by a middle-aged couple who had struggled with infertility. "My only wish is for this child to grow up in an environment where she is loved. That's all." Carol's words during visitation were sincere. Martha decided to move into a nursing home shortly after the incident. She sold her house and now lives quietly in a facility on the opposite side of town. She rarely receives visitors. "I can't forgive, but I've stopped hating," Jennifer said during counseling. A year after the incident, Michael advanced to the middle class of kindergarten. On observation day, Jennifer smiled at her son's growth. "Mom, watch me." Watching him attempt a backward roll on the horizontal bar, falling but getting back up again. In his figure, Jennifer saw a reflection of their own journey. Activities in support groups had also become her emotional anchor. Through dialogue with others who had experienced family betrayal, she gained new perspectives and strength. Maybe there's no such thing as a perfect family. But that's okay. Her words in the group session brought tears of empathy to many participants. One evening at sunset, while spending time with Michael on the park swings. "Mama, is Daddy never coming back?" "No, he's not." "But Michael has Mama, right?" "Yes. I'm happy with just Mama." Those words brought tears to Jennifer's eyes. Now, a year and 3 months after the incident, she was beginning to open her heart to new encounters. Casual conversations with a man she met at her child's art class. Though not yet something that could be called romance, her ability to trust people was gradually returning. One step at a time. "We still have plenty of time ahead," Jennifer whispered softly while watching balloons float into the sunset sky, tightly holding Michael's small hand.